Hi, I'm Brandon Grant, Sales and Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to import items into a QuoteWerks database. Importing items is an easy way to ensure you're able to add all of your products and services to QuoteWerks efficiently and accurately. Before we begin, there's a couple steps you'll want to take in order to simplify this process. First, you'll want to make sure you have your item list ready. This means you'll want to have already requested your price list or your item list from your vendors or compiled it yourself. Additionally, if you need to import more than one price list, that's fine. You will just follow these steps for a second time. Okay, well, let's get started. So the first thing you'll want to do is open up your item list or your price list from your vendor. Typically, this means it's an Excel sheet. To import this price list into QuoteWerks, we'll actually need to convert this over to a CSV file first. So go ahead and double click on your file to open it. And just take a look at the file and make sure everything looks correct. If you have a lot of items, that's fine. This is a pretty small list, but you just want to make sure that everything looks correct and all the fields are mapped properly. You'll see I have a row of my column titles. This is to help with my mapping. If you don't have yours mapped, we do highly recommend going through and mapping some of the major columns so you know which columns are which, especially if you have something like a manufacturer part number and a vendor part number, so you're mapping those properly when importing in QuoteWerks. So everything looks good with this document, so let's go ahead and get ready to import it. So like I said, we'll need to convert this to a CSV file. So click on File, Save As. We're going to save it in our price list file here, and we're just going to change this to CSV. You'll see comma separated value, so comma delimited. And we're just going to call this our price list for import, so I know what it is, and then click Save. And then if we go back to our folder, we'll see our price list for import is now available. So that looks good. So now we can go into QuoteWerks. So our document is now ready to be imported into QuoteWerks. To import it, you're going to click on the Products menu option up at the top, and then click on the Import Wizard option. This will open up and begin the Product Import Wizard. So the first step is we need to select our file. If you have already imported a price list into QuoteWerks before, you can actually load from a previously saved template. However, this example, we're going to start from scratch. So we'll click on Select. That'll open up our folder, and we'll select our file and click Open. This information will be specified automatically for you. There's no need to change anything here. You can go ahead and click Next once you're sure you've selected the correct file. The next step is going to be mapping some of the most common fields in QuoteWerks. So your vendor part number, description, manufacturer part number, cost, price, and list. These are not required fields. The only required field in QuoteWerks when doing an import is the manufacturer part number. So let's go ahead and map this one first. And this is where those column headings are going to be very useful. With my document, I know because I put that column heading in here that my manufacturer part number is field 5, so I can select it. Now, if you don't have those column headers in, what you can do is click on the View Data, and this will show you the first 20 rows of data from your document, so you can make sure you select the right column. Like I said, since mine was already set up properly, I'm good to go. And then we can just move forward with next mappings. So another very important field is going to be the description field. This is the customer facing description, so we want to make sure we map that one. Our unit cost, that's also very important because we want to be able to track that in QuoteWerks. Unit price, this is the selling price of the item, so this is what we're actually going to sell that item to the customer. We'll go ahead and select that. And then if you have unit list, which is the MSRP, you can map that one as well. If you don't have it, that's fine, you don't need to map it. Once you've mapped all the fields that are important to you, go ahead and click Next. This step is going to be the advanced mapping step. This is where you can map additional fields from your document that may not have been available in the kind of like standard mapping step. So on step 3 here, this advanced mapping, we could select a field such as our item type here, and then go into QuoteWerks, find our item type, and all these fields are in alphabetical order, and then choose Map, and now that field is mapped. You can also do a search on it. So if you want to search for a specific field and make sure it's mapped to a specific field here in QuoteWerks, you can do that. If you have a field in your item list or your price list and you don't see the available field in QuoteWerks, that's when you can utilize these custom date, memo, number, and text fields. So that way you can import that data into those fields and it'll be available in QuoteWerks. Additionally, if you have static data that you want to import from a specific field, you can map it to a custom text field and then you can actually enter in a static value. So if you want to have all your line items have a specific custom text, custom number, custom date, anything like that, you can map that manually as well. Okay, let's move forward to the next step. So the next step is the destination. This is where we're going to actually import the product and service information into QuoteWerks. You'll be able to select from an existing list of your product sources that you've set up in QuoteWerks, or if you haven't set up a database yet, simply select this option to have QuoteWerks create a new database. The next option allows you to start the import at a specific row. So for our example, I want to have it start at row 2. The reason is that my row 1 in my document that I'm importing is all header information. If you start at row 1 and you have header information, that's fine. It'll just come in as a line item that you could delete later. But for our example, I'm going to go ahead and start at row 2. If you want QuoteWerks to dynamically create your product folders, you can leave this option checked. If you want it to remove leading and trailing spaces from all field data, you can have this option checked as well. I do recommend having this checked just so things are a little bit cleaner when it's coming into the database. And then finally, you have 4 options for importing it. We can delete all the existing products in the selected database and append the new products. Since this is a brand new one, that's probably the one we'll use since it's already empty. You can append the products to the existing products. So this would be a good way if you already had a product database that you selected and you just want to add these items to it, you would select that option. If you are updating your existing items and adding new products, and that's what this option will be, this is how you tell QuoteWerks which item is unique based on one of the options here. For most of you, it'll be the manufacturer part number, and then the database field you'll also want to set to the manufacturer part number. Sometimes it might be the vendor part number, and that's fine. That's why we have the option. But the most common one is to tell QuoteWerks which item is which is based on the part number. And then you can choose which fields need to be updated in the mapping. And the last option has the same settings as the option above it. It just will not append new products. So you'll use this option when you want to update your item list, but you're not adding any new products. Since we're adding products for the very first time, we're actually going to select the first option here and then click Next. And then the final step will give you the option of saving this as a template. When you save this as a template, this makes it much easier so you don't have to go through the mapping process again. So for example, if I wanted to call this our ABC vendor import and click save, next time I need to do an import from this type of price list, I can use this template and it will already preset my mappings for me. And then if I need to adjust anything, I can, but it'll at least save me some time where I'm not having to start from scratch. And then once you're ready, simply click Start Import. Click Yes to overwrite it. It's now going to ask you if you want to create a new database name. So we want to give our vendor database a name. So let's call this item list and click OK. And a table name or a database name, whichever one you have, and then click OK. And then you'll receive a confirmation message once it's been imported. You can view the import log if you want to see it, and it'll tell you how many records were processed and if there were any issues or anything wasn't imported. And then to check, you simply click on your products window here. And this will open up your product lookup window. Find your database that you just imported, so ours was item list, and you'll see here's all of our items that were just imported into my QuoteWerks installation. So it's that easy to take a price list from a vendor or one that you've created and import it directly into QuoteWerks. For more information, or if you have any additional questions, please visit the QuoteWerks help file or give us a call or send us an email. Thanks for watching.